In our store file, we are about to implement an action to create new threads. Like our create post action, I will name this one create thread. Let's see here. For this, we'll need the state and commit options from the context object. The payload will be the text and the title the user has written in our form. Since we don't remember what a thread object looks like, I'll go and copy one from data.json and fill it in here. ESLint doesn't like that I have the double quotes around the properties or the double quotes around the values. I've got my IDE VS Code set up to automatically fix ESLint issues on save, so I just hit save to fix it. So the thread here contains a lot of information that we don't necessarily need at this time. We don't need the contributors. We don't need the first post ID or the last post at and the last post ID. We also don't need the slug for now. Okay, let's see what data we actually do need. Well, we definitely do need the forum ID, and we're going to have to be able to pass that in here. So let's add that. And then we can just use the JavaScript shorthand for this property and value, since the variables are named the same. We also have the title, and I'll just rearrange this a little bit. See, the text will be an actual post since the thread is a collection of posts with a title. So we'll have to add a new post into this posts array. But since we don't have it yet, we'll go ahead and remove it for now. Now, we can easily fill in the rest of the props by copying some of the code from the create post action. Now, we can use the shorthand for these properties as well. Let's go ahead and put it all on one line. Once we've constructed the thread object, we can set it to the state by committing a mutation. Following the style of the other mutations, I will create the mutation setThread that will accept the thread object, and we will just push the new thread into the threads. Now, we can commit the setThread mutation in our action and pass it the data that it needs. After we create the thread, we have to create the post with the post text. The first thing that comes to mind here is to create the post object and then commit the setPost mutation. But if we do that, then we also have to commit append post to thread in order to update our new thread's posts property. I think you get the idea. What we can do instead is to dispatch the create post action and let it do its job. Create post accepts a post object, and the post object should look like an object with a text property and a thread ID property. One bug that we can foresee is that the new thread doesn't have a posts property, so the append posts to thread mutation will throw an error. To prevent that, We can check if the thread already has the post's property, and if it doesn't, set it here. Yeah, I know that mutations should be responsible for changing only one piece of the state, but in this very situation, it's acceptable because we need to make sure that a post array exists before adding the post ID, so we can think of it as a single state change. Now, because forums and users can have multiple threads, what we have to do is append the thread ID to their thread's property. This is very similar to what we do in the append post to thread mutation. So I will create two mutations, one to append the thread to the forum and one to append the thread to the user. I will copy the code from the append post to thread mutation and change the variable names. I'm pressing Command D here in VS Code to select multiple instances of the variable. Now I'll quickly do the same for append thread to user. Since this thread might be the first one the user has written, or this might be the first thread in the specified forum, in these mutations we can prevent the bug of not having an array by setting forum.threads and user.threads to an empty array if it doesn't already exist. Okay, now we can commit them, and it should be good to go. Since the order doesn't matter here, we can have all the commits together. It's just better for the eye. We are ready to dispatch the create thread action in our component's save method. Here we need to pass it the forum ID, the title, and the text. We will add a route and create our first thread in the next lesson.